This is Chris Desmond, and this is Policy on Demand, coming to you from the Customs and Trade Conference here in Dallas, Texas. Very happy to be joined by Jarrod Wood, International Tax Partner, Carla DeSantis, a advisory CPG partner and leader. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Chris.
So we're here at the conference, and there's a lot of hype on trade and tariffs, but also from a cross-functional perspective. And when we think about trade and tariffs, when we think about different areas, Jarrod, you're in the international tax area. You care more about effective tax rate. Carla, you think more about earnings per share. But then these two come together along with what comes with the customs group that I'm a part of when it comes to customs compliance. Like, how do we bridge the gap? How do we make that come together? So Carla, with you first.
I think it's important to remember what we're motivated by, the KPIs and the measures by which we view the business, and share that, because in the translation of all of that, I'm sure we find commonality, especially when ultimately all we're trying to do is be as profitable and successful financially for not just the company, but stakeholders. But
yeah, I agree. I mean, ETR and cash tax are what tax departments are typically metriced on. That obviously feeds into EPS. I think what can get difficult in the tariff landscape is some of the planning strategies have a huge impact on tariff mitigation, but could potentially create an uptick in the effective tax rate, the ETR. And so getting clarity from the C-suite, sponsorship to team across functions drives a lot of overall value, because it can allow the tax department to give a little bit to save for the broader good.
yeah, for sure. And just building on that comment, Chris, Jarrod, I couldn't agree with you more, because I think when tariffs happen, we think it's your problem, right? We're like, oh, we already have our business strategy, like go figure it out. Or operations has to figure it out. Go find a lever we can pull that mitigates everything. When the truth of the matter is, it's all in one bucket. And if we're not looking at them holistically, you're going to do something that's going to impact operations, and operations is going to do something that impacts commercial, or our ability to deliver commercially, and around we go and never really land.
So the importance for these calculations to come together. So for whatever is going to be happening with the tariff landscape, thinking of it from a holistic approach, because we also not only have the tariffs, we also have tax reform, we also have earnings per share, metrics that we have to account for. So a lot of times in the news, when we're hearing about all the change in the trade environment, both in the US and worldwide, we kind of take the negative outlook. What if we flipped it up? What if we thought, what could be the positives that one should think about, a company should be thinking about, with the tariff landscape, with the changes in tax reform, with the changes of how operating, companies are looking at their operating model? Can we take a positive spin? And if so, what is that spin? Jarrod?
So on the tax side, I think we do have a level of predictability on what, in particular, the U.S. tax regime is going to look like in the sort of mid to near future. That can factor into a broader discussion on tariffs and trade, and sort of using tariffs and trade as an external catalyst to get the right people in the room talking about commercial strategy, broader business strategy, and then tax is more than happy to be part of that discussion, helping to drive value, as opposed to highlighting why you might not do something or the negative. I think that external catalyst is extremely helpful, because it gets the right people in the room and the right people listening to strategies that tax can bring to the table.
Isn't playing offense so much more fun?
It is.
Right?
I mean, I'm a sports guy, so
yes.
I'm like, let's figure out what's our offensive strategy. Thank you.
So can we view this in light of strategy? Can we look at this as, hey, we've been putting off maybe some capital investment, or we've put off rethinking our portfolio, right? We know we're probably a little proliferated, or we know some of the materials in our bombs are at risk. We've been struggling to stay on top of a shirt supply. This is the time to start thinking about all of that and really reimagining, whether it's your portfolio, our approach to innovation, our op model, our footprint. Really go back to things like Jarrod and I talk about value chain transformation. Can we capitalize on that? And I think a lot of people think, oh, that's long term, that's really big. I don't know. If you haven't been challenging your OE, or haven't been thinking about service to your customers better, and those have been things you've been incrementally sort of approaching and improving upon, could this be the instigator, if you will, the motivator to really start attacking that and really playing offense now and putting it together. I love the idea of that.
I love the idea too. And then from a customs perspective, a lot of the customs teams are concerned about how are they going to resource this? How are they going to do all the calculations? But what a great time to reset and recharge the way to think through the importance that that group has in the organization and how they can help set the stage for what's to come in a proactive manner while getting some of the needed funding and also resources to do that. So when we talk about the future, if you guys don't mind, humor me with this one, crystal ball approach. Let's fast forward spring 2026. Like, where do we see things? Where do we see things from what's going to come out from a tax perspective? What have companies done? Have they actually done some major changes? Has it been some onshoring? Is it going through the process of thinking? And then we can talk about some custom stuff. So crystal ball, 1 year from now, what do you think, Jarrod?
There's some things we can safely predict. Don't hold me to this.
Where we are taping.
I think we can expect a consistent corporate tax rate. So I don't think 21% is going to go up. Export incentives, I think, will still be around. Hard to predict whether we do get some domestic manufacturing incentive, specifically as the Trump administration campaigned on and continues to talk about. However, I think we can expect certain other incentives to come back, like immediate expensing of R&E, bonus depreciation, other things that'll sort of team with tariffs and trade policy to incentivize CapEx in the U.S.
Great.
Yeah, and building on that, I do hope that it does bring folks to the table and really help them reimagine what can be true about their operating model. So whether it is onshoring, I'll pick on operations. I do think at the very least, it's going to challenge companies to address some of their opportunities in their current network structure, if you will. So maybe that's really firming up some suppliers in new and different ways, or maybe it is investment in capital expenditure in certain locations, future infrastructure, what have you. I do think it's going to hopefully put commercial and operations back together again.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of collaboration during, say, COVID with the global pandemic, and at the table with other levers we could pull. I hope we get back to that. I think we regressed. We got a little complacent there. I hope this brings us all back to the table. I do think deals may start to happen, but the construct of partnerships more than necessarily I'm carving out a business or I'm acquiring a business, although that could happen too. But using sort of deal structures to build capabilities in new and different ways than you may have done before, sort of revisiting the make versus buy question, or now I'm going to invest in the future, again, going back to strategy,
right?
Really start to play forward and play into my fit for purpose future as opposed to fit for purpose now.
I'll try to do my job from a customs perspective to have some certainty at some point in time. I will just say that the waters are going to be rough for the next several months. My hope is a year from now, we will have more definitive schedules from potential tariffs, but also new agreements and allowing us to make operational decisions and tax decisions and overall company decisions.
Yeah.
Carla, Jarrod, thank you so much for coming. It's really great to have you on, and we'll be back, I have a feeling.
Great to be here.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.